Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Brighter Podcast. My name's BatSheva.
And my name is Chelsea.
And my world is so much brighter thanks to Chelsea.
And my life is infinitely brighter thanks to BatSheva.
Chelsea and I love to come on here and share all the tools and techniques, methods and modalities that we use to brighten our days, and also share stories in the hopes that it will also help to brighten your day. But before we get started on today's excellent, juicy episode, we're going to go ahead and do what we love to do, which is invite you to take 3 breaths with us. We all arrive in this digital space together. If you're able to close your eyes, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you can leave them open and go ahead and take a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing in calming, quieting energy. Breathing out through the mouth. Anything ready to go, let it go. Second breath, breathing in calming, soothing, quieting energy. Breathing out through the mouth, let anything ready to go, go. Third and final breath together, breathing in through the nose, calm, soothing energy. Maybe even sighing out, letting it all go. Hello, welcome, welcome.
Hello.
Yes, Chelsea and I, we did a practice run for this particular episode on the very first day in November of Mercury going retrograde. And Mercury flipped us upside down and wrung us out to dry. And whereas in the past, we persevered and actually managed to with spit and tape and, safety pins, glue an episode together on Mercury and retrograde. Yesterday, we were just or 2 days ago, we were just no, after the 5th or 6th time that the computers were shutting down and the electricity was not cooperating, we're like, how about we try this at our next meeting? So here we are, gifting you with the episode that we're so excited to share because it's all about the art of gifting. And before we go too deep into it, I would love for you, Chelsea, to share with our listeners how we were inspired to bring this topic to everyone.
Yeah, so Monday, Mercury retrograde, was actually my husband's birthday, and I was kind of racking my brain, whatever you call it, to figure out what to give him. What am I going to actually give to him, an actual physical gift? I mean, I always give him lots of love and cards and words, and I always decorate a cake. But thinking about what to give, because there are certain people in my life, and I'm sure lots of listeners out there, who you're like, oh, I really want to get them something, but what do I give them? Because maybe my niece and nephew, for example, their taste and what they're into is ever changing, and I'm not really hanging out with 9 and 10-year-olds all the time, so keeping up with what's new in their life is usually something. And then then there's people like my husband, who he has basically everything that he wants, and if he doesn't, then it's usually something really big. And maybe that's not something I was ready to gift. So for me, the art of giving, really, whenever I find the most joy out of it and I feel like it is received the best, is I guess whenever I'm out and I see something and it really strikes a chord in me of a memory with someone, or it really just reminds me of them. I see it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is them. And then, you get that for them. It's not just oh, I'm going to go and just, look for something like that. That to me is kind of torture. So it's interesting also because we were talking about birthdays, and I know that we had shared before, around the time of BatSheva's birthday, that I was what am I going to give her? What do I do? So yeah, so that was kind of what we were thinking about. And then just thinking about being grateful for all the gifts. My birthday was a couple weeks ago, and the gifts that I received and what that felt like, and to just kind of see what different people in my life shared with me and gifted to me, kind of their perspective of what I'm into or what they thought of whenever they thought of me. And so, yeah, that's kind of the inspo. And we'd love to hear how you all come up with gifts. If there's a favorite store that you go to or an online shopping go-to that serves you well, that's always amazing as well.
I would love to hear that too, because I feel like this is a very open-ended episode. We can share what works for us and what we experience, but I feel like maybe other people have already also found some hacks, like you say. So please don't hold back and message us or post it on our Facebook. And I know that the first time around when Chelsea and I attempted to share this episode a couple days ago, it actually got me thinking about how Chelsea and I have shared before, maybe even live on the podcast, how often we'll receive gifts from other people that in the moment we're like, oh, like in the back of my head, like, well, calculating. I mean, I don't mean to be that way, but I can't help it, like thinking like, oh, I could have used that money or, gotten the thing I wanted, or why did they waste that money? I'm never going to wear it, or like feeling a way about receiving a gift instead of just feeling like pure love and gratitude for as the recipient and towards the giver. And then often weeks later, months later, even years later, I'll all of a sudden take out that necklace or take out that sweater or jacket. And I'm like, this is the coolest fucking thing of my life. And it's my number one item, and I'll start wearing it nonstop. And then, hopefully I'll see the giver at some point, or, I'll like send them a picture and kind of complete the cycle of gratitude and love and gifting. Because I think part of giving, what feels so good about giving is knowing or believing that the person who's receiving it's going to enjoy it, and that's part of the joy of the giver. And as a receiver, I love to give that too. So it's kind of tricky, this whole art of giving. And it's funny that Chelsea mentioned my birthday too. I mean, her gift to me was endless because she visited me here and she just was like a shining ball of amazingness for the entire week she was here and treated me. And, we had so much fun. Just her presence alone and the card she wrote me was like above and beyond a birthday gift for me. But at the same time, she and I have given each other actual gifts over the past couple years that we've been friends on our birthdays. Also, just like randomly, we'll like send each other a book that we believe the other person will really love or that we loved and we want to share. And that's just constant. And then it's so funny that she expressed that about this summer. And then again, when her birthday just came up like a few weeks ago, I had the same experience. I was like, I don't have the thing in mind that I had before, like, oh, I'm going to give her this on her birthday. And I still haven't found it. And honestly, the whole birthday cycle may just come and go and we never find, a gift for each other. And that's sort of interesting. And that's almost like what Chelsea, you were sharing that kind of happened with you and Hunter in a way, the cycle, like maybe you didn't find this physical item. And then also, sometimes when someone's newer in your life, I think it's almost easier for me, like a new friend or a new boyfriend that I had recently. And I remember from the beginning, right when I kind of fell for him, I started thinking about all these things I'd love to give him. And then his birthday came up and I was so excited. I gave him like 6 different gifts. And, and yet like my family and my loved ones and people I've known forever and ever, like you said about your niece and nephew, I mean, sometimes it's just you're not with them, you don't see them. And sometimes too, like Hunter, like they get what they want. And like, how do you supplement? Like, what do? You've already like run out of. So yeah, all those things were on my mind.
Yeah, I think about my family. I was sharing that the last like several years for Christmas, I've offered, like I've written, like made them like a handmade little card thing that's like basically like a little gift certificate that is like, this coupon is good for any activity of your choice. And I'll pay for it and take you to it. And you just have to let me know when it is so that we can plan. And no one has ever taken me up on it, like not one time. And I'm like, what is up with this? Like, do they not want to hang out with me? Are they too shy? Are they like just completely spaced and like don't think about it? And then I think about, okay, have I had some aunts and uncles or family members who have offered me something like this? And then I'm just like, like what has happened there? And it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like a whole nother revelation of what they went through, like, oh my gosh, feeling so much compassion and like love towards loved ones who have gotten gifts and took the time and the effort. And maybe it wasn't the perfect gift, or maybe it didn't, really hit home. Then you just think about like, wow, what if they like really, because I think of sometimes that I went to different stores and I just searched online endlessly and it's just like, oh, fuck, I don't know. And then you end up getting something, but all of the time and energy and thought and love that went into it, even if it wasn't something that you really wanted, like it's really It really is the thought that counts.
Oh my goodness, you totally just triggered these memories. First of all, like similarly to your birthday, my brother turned 50 this summer, and I just literally remembered like I never got him his 50th birthday present. And that like doesn't make me feel good. But also, I haven't been inspired. Like I did write him a card, and I do think the writing of a heartfelt card is like, 75% of the way there. Like it means so much. And when I receive it, when I give it, I believe in the card when it's like written from the heart. But the other thing you reminded me of just now with your unclaimed gift offer and like you thinking back, did you ever do that to family members who might have offered you something? I just remembered I have given massage certificates, like not cheap ones, like expensive gift certificates that I found out like a year later were never claimed. Or, this past year or so, I was very excited about different books, like for example, that you and I reading, and I was gifting them over and over to new friends or my cousin or different people. And like some of them were claimed, but when I went to go check, like many of them were never claimed and still aren't to this day. And I was like, that doesn't feel good. Like I was all excited, and I would tell them like, would you want to read this book about, well, for example, one of them is the Healing Back Pain book by John Sarno. So any of you listening, if you have any sort of chronic pain that you experience in your back, your neck, your shoulders, your wrists, I highly recommend this motherfucking book. Reading it, or I had read it and it hadn't done much for me. And then I listened to the audio and it literally changed my entire life. And it had my sister and it had other people I knew. And that's what convinced me to give it another try. So for example, that book, and if I have friends and I find out they're in chronic pain or a family member, like I tell them, I say, well, would you read this book if I give it to you? And they're like, yeah. And then I see months, a year later, I'm like, they never fucking claimed that audiobook. Like, it's annoying.
Yeah, it's also interesting to think about what people do. I remember whenever I think I was in high school, maybe college. I'm pretty sure I was still in high school. And both my parents' birthdays are in January. And I got them both massages because, my family is like working class, like they're sore. Like that's just how it is. Their bodies are sore. Their bodies are getting utilized every single day. And so I remember buying them both massages, and my dad is definitely like on the shyer side. And I remember I took him to the massage. Like I booked it for him. I took him there, dropped him off, picked him up because it was like I was making sure that he was going to go and do it. And he loved it. And then I've also like thought about that. I'm like, oh, I should do that again. And then I'm just like, would they even enjoy it? Because I think about my in-laws, and my husband is such a toucher. He's like always trying to like hug and love and really just like squeeze people in. And they're all kind of like, all right, that's about enough. Like, I don't really want to be touched. And so it's just so interesting to think about everyone's preferences and, to really honor each individual and what they enjoy. And because sometimes I'm like, oh, this is the perfect gift for me. And then I'll just like give it to other people. And maybe it's not the perfect gift for them. But like much like the book, you're like, oh, it's done such wonders for me. This has changed my life. Like, and I want it to also change, which is kind of what this whole podcast is about, is everything that has had such an impact and changed our life in some way that we're like, we must share this. We must share this with whoever wants to hear it.
That's exactly true. And it's funny because, this particular episode is not about gifting ourselves. It's about gifting for other people. And yet, obviously, there is that element within all the time for me, and except for those wonderful magical moments where I'm really channeling like, wow, I know Chelsea will love this and I get it for you and it's received and it's just like, those are the best, divine gifting experiences. But outside of that, it is often a lot of like, oh, I love this. And often I will gift it to myself just to treat myself like a precious object because we know that that's important. But it also had me thinking about how we're raised and what happens when we're young and how that affects us later on in life regarding giving. Because, for example, the card I mentioned, it means so much to me to receive a really heartfelt card. Lately, my mother, too, over the years has been sending me these like incredible cards. She's also the best gift giver, but like also she's been writing these longer cards about how she believes in me and supports me. And I'm like crying reading them. Chelsea is the best card writer. And I also love to write really like loving, heartfelt cards, but I don't write them as often or as consistently as I wish I did. I don't write like the thank you note that I would like to write so many times after being treated to something or meeting a new person or being hosted. And I grew up with my father's wife, my stepmother, who I did not have a good relationship with and honestly still really don't have any relationship with now. It's not bad. It's just non-existent. But growing up, it was pretty fraught. And she had like this directive, like every kid must always write a thank you note. She wanted us to write her a thank you note all the time for everything that she did. And of course, me being a kid and being mad at her, I did not generally do that. And I think there's some things to unpack there, whereas I have some friends who they've written me thank you cards, after they've come here for dinner or something. It's such a lovely surprise, but also I'm like, whoa, I wish I took that time and I wish I had that flow and that ritual embedded in my own day and week and life. And also, like, for example, although I said my mother's like the best gift giver, my parents were divorced growing up. So my father, again, continues to this day. He's many wonderful qualities, but giving gifts is not one of them. He's literally like, no, he gets a very bad grade for his gifts. And I think he knows that, which is why he basically doesn't even bother anymore. But again, as a kid, I think I harbored some of that resentment. And I think it kind of, unfortunately, will still rear its ugly head, in my life here and there.
That just made me think about, because I was thinking about that your dad, doesn't he usually take you all on trips? Isn't that usually like a gift?
He took us on a big one. He took us on a big one 2 years ago, but that was the first one ever. So that was to celebrate his 80th. And it's one we'd talked about for like 10 years, like bringing all the kids and grandkids. So you and I happened to have just been new friends and he did this extravagant trip. But it's the only time now he's talking about doing it again when he turns 85. So, I mean, that's a great new, wonderful development. But yeah, not that either.
That's so amazing because for a little while, whenever I was really racking in the dough as a nurse, I was like, ooh, I took like a big assignment. And so I'm going to be like making this money. And so that's what I'll do for Christmas. I'll take everyone on a vacation. And so there have been a few vacations that I've taken my family on. My family, traditionally, they don't really love to travel. So it's kind of like a gift for me. I mean, it is a gift for them. And also it might not be the gift that they would choose for themselves. I feel like once they're there or once it's over with, and they're reminiscing on the memories made, that's kind of like the gift regiving itself because they're just like, oh my gosh, we got to spend that time together and dad couldn't go out to the garage and work on the car, or people weren't leaving to go and hang out with their friends or only being there for a short amount of time. It's like everyone was there. And so everyone was seeing each other. And it's interesting because my younger sister, she just messaged me and she has always been like over and above on the gifts, which I used to be. I used to just buy. Oh my gosh, I would like buy all kinds of stuff. And a lot of it was maybe something that people needed, but there were also just like, oh, I was just so happy to be spending the money and for people to have something to unwrap, because that was always a big thing in my family growing up, especially like during birthdays and Christmas. It was like gifts. But my sister just messaged me yesterday, actually, and she was like, I'm so over just buying gifts that people, they don't even need or use. And it's just like more stuff. She's like, what do you think about taking everyone on a vacation? Like we could go in on a vacation this year. And I was like, yes, like finally someone has like come to this side and they're seeing it. And so I'm excited to explore what that might look like for our family as a big gift this year.
Wow, that's actually amazing. It's so fun when siblings and family members change and evolve and you're like, what? Like you're speaking my language? Oh my God, like that's a gift. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I was also thinking about how, it is interesting, like sometimes almost like the gift that you receive and then a year later you appreciate it, or maybe you never appreciate it. I think you're right. Like, and I have another friend who's done that with her family too. She and her husband treated them and took them to this like gorgeous vacation for the holidays. And then I remember her sharing like a lot of drama and chaos that, happened when they were all cooped up together in the same gorgeous, extravagant place. And it's interesting, all the gifts in the world can't help us escape from our karma and the karma that we share with our loved ones. But yeah, I was thinking about how I remember wanting and hoping and wishing that the guy I was dating over the summer was going to give me a gift, because I do love my gifts. I love to receive, I love to receive a necklace, jewelry, whatever. And I think I had made sure he knew, I love silver, not gold, like dropping them fucking hints like a teenager. And then, nothing happened. I got like a really great text and I'm like, okay, I got the words. I got the 75%, like amazing words. But I had been out of town. And then a week later, I'm still like got the antenna, like, am I going to get a gift? It's like kind of wondering. And he wound up taking me to this like very expensive, fancy steakhouse and kind of wining and dining. And that was clearly his way of celebrating my birthday. And I remember thinking, oh, I guess we don't know each other that well yet, because like I don't need steak. Like everything here is slathered in butter and I don't like butter. And like I don't really drink much. And like, the whole thing was exactly what you said, like what we do for ourselves. Like that would totally be what he would want. You know what I mean? And he was giving it to me with an open heart. And it was, I received it. Totally. But then, it's just like brings me back to this thought that the art of gifting, I think the very most important lesson that I myself am learning and have learned and wish and desire to continue to learn is to tune in to the soul and the heart and the vibration of that person. And then even if something doesn't come to the surface, put myself in enough stores or situations where something will magnetically be drawn energetically to my hands and it will be the right price and the right size. That's my only thought as far as like how to approach the art of gifting. I don't know. Do you have any last thoughts?
I love that idea. I really love that idea, especially thinking about, putting yourself in the right place. I think about like my dad, all the gifts that we got him over the years. Like my mom would usually know something big to get him, but it was like socks and underwear and a new wallet. And like, you're like, what? But then he would get like a big power tool or, I remember like he would get like a car. He really loves like old muscle cars. And so sometimes he would end up with something like that. But that wasn't every single year. Or I think about, oh my gosh, I was thinking about my babysitters that kind of like babysat me from the time I was a baby until probably like 13 years old. And they were actually, it was my grandmother and her dad were brother and sister. So however that translates into our family. But they would always take me out around Christmas or like my parents' birthdays, and they would give me money to like buy them something, and it was like going to Walmart or wherever and like getting something. And I just think about all the times that my parents were they truly acted so grateful and happy about the gift. And it's just like so sweet to think about now, because I also experienced what you were talking about, BatSheva, with like getting a gift and kind of like, what the fuck? What were you thinking whenever you bought this for me? But then later on, you're like, oh, this is great. I love this. So.
And to all the parents out there, I do recommend what Chelsea just said, because I've done that with my children. I've just literally, like, I remember I wanted a new fluffy towel and some pretty jewelry, and I literally brought my two youngest children to the mall, to Macy's. I gave them my credit card. I gave them a limit. I'm like, I need a fluffy towel and some pretty necklace. And like, so they kind of had like a framework, but they got to choose, the color and the thing and the brand. And then I went and took myself out to coffee, and, they hid it from me until it was my birthday. And I was as happy as can be. And I think I did that for Mother's Day too. So that's always a good option.
I love that idea. We were actually just talking about this, like in a course that I'm in. We were talking about like setting your children up to shower you with love in the way that you want to receive love. Teaching them, oh, this is how mommy likes to have a bath, or like, this is the music, or like, here's the candle, like, this is what you do. And I was so amazed. I don't have children, but just thinking about that. And then we're teaching them. And I know as a kid, it was so gratifying to feel needed, because everyone's always doing stuff for you. And once you get old enough, then you really don't want to do anything for anyone, or at least I didn't. But there's that
sweet
time,
spot.
yeah, where you just like, you want to help, and like maybe you're not really the best at doing the dishes, but you want to be the big kid that does the dishes. You can't wait for that responsibility to be given to you. And so, yeah, just thinking about that and what that looks like. And then for them to be able to receive all of that joy because they feel like, because, whenever you help someone, whenever you do good for others, it feels good. That's why volunteering and giving your time is so rewarding. And so, yeah, I find that, I think that's amazing.
Kind of makes me think that I wonder if we can evolve and grow into partners, lovers, and family members who are not afraid to share without expectation what we would want. And then as the partner, lover, family member of that person who could share, to receive that not with any defensiveness, like, oh, I didn't do it right, but be like, ooh, now I know what to get them. I think like we could evolve potentially into those people. Like, for example, Chelsea, if you were like, I really would like an astrology reading, because I was originally going to get her that. And I'm like, no. But if you said like, yeah, I would love that, I think I could be definitely the gift giver person who'd be like, ooh, well, she wants it. I can give that to her. Let's make that happen. Maybe we can also a little bit evolve into those people to help each other gift each other in better and more effective and efficient and wonderful versions.
I think that also ties into, one, feeling worthy to receive what you want, and two, actually being able to speak it. Because I know that for me, maybe there was a little like a view of whenever people like saying like what they wanted, then that wasn't okay. You should just be grateful for whatever you get. You shouldn't be asking for anything. But it's like, why shouldn't I ask for what I want? So then it kind of like maybe taught to maybe dim your desires or dim whatever it is that you actually like. You're like speaking your truth, like using your voice to say what you want. Because if you don't say it, then who's going to know? Like not everyone's a mind reader. And so I think that, yeah, it's like both of those things come into play. Like one, can I actually speak up? And in a kind, gentle, like you said, not attached way, voice what it is that I want. And then also, can I feel worthy to receive that?
Girl, I just feel like I'm emotional. I feel like we hit on it. We got there at the end of the episode. Like, this is the heart and the soul, and we didn't even know it. But right? Like, didn't it just happen?
So it did. The alchemy.
The alchemy. Well, on that beautiful note, I think it's time to wrap this beautiful episode up, as we will gift you with our final little mini chapter, which we love to end each episode with, which is a little snippet from our daily W practice. One win, one wow, and a wish. And since today it is my turn to start with a win and a wow, I shall do so. Let's see. Win number one from today, which is something I will brag about. Oh, I mothered it out like a motherfucking boss biatch. I was mom of the year this morning. I drove my son to school, which I didn't want to do, and it was going to chomp into my time for myself in the morning, which I need and I treasure. And instead I went because he had had a really rough day, his last school day, and I talked to the vice principal, I talked to the principal, I talked to everybody. I made him feel safe. We put plans in action. And then I even got a text from my other daughter who's in high school saying she forgot something that she needed at school and could I bring it there? And I literally, like, my answer is always no. But I was like, and I even said no, but then I was like, yep, I will do it though. And I did it and I dropped it and I gave it to her. And that's my first brag, girl. That's my first win. And my wow that I'm sharing, which means what am I super grateful for from today? I'm really grateful that a lot of things flooding into my head, which I'm grateful for. I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful that I took a little extra time today because I was running around with the kids and I didn't do my normal 1 hour meditation, that I still gifted myself with 20 minutes meditation and my morning pages journaling. And I told Chelsea if we could start a bit late for this recording so that I could get a little food in my stomach, a little cacao, delicious cacao in my belly. And I'm so grateful for that window that I asked for and I spoke up for, as we have mentioned in this episode, the importance of that, because I really gifted myself like quite a good foundation that I'm now really appreciating. So that's my wow.
Yay. Isn't it so amazing too? Whenever we do those things, things seem to flow more seamlessly than if we would just push through. Just like with the recording last time. Like if we would have just pushed through, we probably wouldn't have gotten this. I mean, I'm sure it would have still been amazing, but it wouldn't be this. And here we are. Okay. And I'm going to close off here with my wish, my desire. And let's see, today is a Wednesday. And so we always have date night on Wednesday nights. And so my desire, my wish is that our date night this evening, we've already decided that we're going to spend it outside because it's such a beautiful fall day. And so we're going to be working in the yard. And so I am just wishing that we are able to find the most play. Like there is some work that gets done, the leaves and tidying up the yard and doing things, but also that there's maybe raking all the leaves into a pile and jumping into it like a kid, or rolling around on the ground and making out like teenagers. And I'm just wishing for our date night to be beautiful and playful and connecting.
Love that. Love that. Love that. I'm seeing it for you. Awesome. We also want to remember to ask all of you not to forget to subscribe to this podcast and to write a review for us if you're enjoying it. These little extra gifts from you help us a lot, and we really would love to help as many people's days be brighter as possible. So thank you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, may your day be brighter. Yes, thank you. Bye. Love you.